Hello. Okay, Monkey Man, starring, co-written, produced and directed by Dev Patel. This does mark Dev Patel's directorial debut, based on a story by Dev Patel himself, and I've been really looking forward to checking this movie out because it has that kind of John Wick vibe about it, and I'm a big fan of the John Wick movies, and just from watching the trailers, this film definitely looks as if it's been partly inspired by those John Wick movies to a degree. So the story is, the synopsis: we follow Kid, an anonymous young man who sets on a journey to hunt down a group of corrupt leaders who are responsible for his mother's death. However, Kid's journey of exacting revenge soon makes him become the saviour of the poor and powerless people who are tormented by the corrupt leaders. So, this is Dev Patel's directorial debut, yeah? Then let me tell you something. He is somebody to keep an eye on because he directs the fuck out of this movie. And what I mean by that, just from a technical perspective in how he crafts and brings his story to life, you can clearly sense the passion and love that he has for wanting to tell his story. But not only that, you can just sense the passion that he has for wanting to craft an immersive, emotional action movie full of heart and soul. And you know what? Yeah, it may have a very familiar story, a story that we've experienced and seen all before, but it's how Dev Patel crafts this story and just how he brings these characters' journeys to life is what makes Monkey Man a very different and special experience. It has its own identity, it's got its own flavour, and he does it in a way that just transports you, just immerses you into the heart of this culture and this region of the world where you just feel like you're there among these characters. It feels real, it feels gritty, it feels dirty, it feels like a real world with characters that are going through real pain and torment and trauma. All of this is just elevated by the gorgeous cinematography by a Sharon Maya. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He also did the cinematography for Whiplash. But that, along with every other technical aspect of this movie, just helps bring to life a very fun, immersive story full of heart, soul and emotion. And in a way, it took me back to being a kid again, watching a lot of these revenge movies that I loved growing up watching. And one of those films being, which might surprise quite a few of you, and that is RoboCop. I just found it to be sort of, when it comes to how the story of Monkey Man was structured, was just very similar to RoboCop, and it felt like it was perhaps in part inspired, maybe, I don't know, I could be wrong, but what I mean by this is it was structured in a way that had layers to it. Like, you'd have this socio-political commentary on top of what is a very straightforward, very human revenge story, and it just really sort of took me back to films like RoboCop, those movies that I fell in love with as a kid, growing up loving, and in many ways, you know, along with the sort of the violence, you know, there's a lot of blood in this movie, there's a lot of violence, again, it just sort of really took me back to films like RoboCop. Maybe that's just me, I don't know, but with the way in which this story was structured, with all those other layers and themes going on, and yeah, it just took me back to those kind of films, and I just felt like the way in which it was handled was beautiful. And just to clarify, you know, RoboCop and Monkey Man are both completely different films in many ways, but I just feel like in what it is they're exploring with the story and how the story is structured with those other layers and themes, I just found there to be a lot of similarities and maybe an inspiration perhaps with Dev Patel, I don't know, but obviously there's a very clear inspiration when it comes to the John Wick films. And then that leads me into what really makes this film different and not just being a rip-off of films like John Wick. And that is how sort of this character of the Kid, played by Dev Patel, sort of just plays out through this film. It is done in a way that feels very real, feels very human, and like I said, it's got a lot of heart, and I think that's what makes this different to John Wick. John Wick is more of a machine. yes, he's human, but when you're introduced to the character of John Wick, he's already kind of established with what it is that he does. You witness a character grow, and I feel like the way they done it was done in such a smart way. Like, you feel like you're going on this journey with this character. And what I will say, you know, this film is only 2 hours, and what they managed to achieve in that 2 hours, I thought was incredible. Yes, the film does kind of creak under some of the weight, and perhaps some of the kind of the sort of the overindulgence maybe of what it is Dev Patel is trying to do when it comes to putting his stamp, you know, sort of showcasing what his directorial style is. Because I feel like there are a lot of moments which could have fallen flat on its arse quite easily, but they don't. Everything just holds together. When it comes to a lot of the sort of the hand-to-hand combat, they are shot in a way where the camera is quite close up, and there is a lot of kind of, you know, shaky cam used. And if for a lot of you that have been following me now for a while will know, I'm not a massive fan of shaky cam and sort of utilising it during sort of action scenes. But I feel like with Monkey Man, it's done in a way that's not too much, and also sort of adds and elevates to these moments, and sort of injects that intimacy that I was talking about earlier on, which I feel like the story and these moments need. So for this particular movie and how it's done, for me, it works. Dev Patel as our lead, the kid, is great here. He, you know, his performance allows myself to sort of really buy into this character's pain and anger and his journey. And yeah, he does a great job of bringing this character to life. I don't get me wrong, I think there are moments where I do question sort of how clean this character does sometimes come across, considering he's, you know, growing up through the slums and being beaten up to shit every night wearing this monkey mask. I felt sometimes I was sort of trying to look for where the bruises were, for example. But that wasn't really enough to sort of take me away from this character's journey and sort of stop me from buying into what this character was going through, because I think Dev Patel did a great job with this character. I also have to mention I believe this is how you pronounce his name, a Vipin Sharma, who plays Alpha. Now, this character, he doesn't play a massive role, but his character is actually quite pivotal to the development of the kid. And just like I said, he's not in this film for a large portion, but when he is on the screen, I was just so captivated by he kind of had this like aura about him, and just so the way in which he would bring this character to life, I just found him to be quite captivating and mesmerizing to watch. It felt so real and natural and just kind of emotionally raw. That's the only way I can describe it. Vipin Sharma, apologies if I pronounced that incorrectly, but he played a small role in this movie, but whenever he is on the screen, he was fantastic. When it comes to the music, I absolutely adored the score within this film. It's composed by Ajed Kazel, and his music really sort of helps elevate those emotional beats during the moments that require it, and just kind of really heighten that emotional core to this film. I absolutely adored the music in this film. And yeah, I think that's enough rambling on from me. I really enjoyed this film. It's a blast. It takes me back to those movies that I grew up watching as a kid that helped fuel my love for film. And like I said, it's got a very familiar story. It's a revenge story, but it's done in a way that makes it very special, very different, very unique. It's got its own flavour, and I feel like this is a very strong directorial debut by Dev Patel. I highly recommend it, and I will be giving Monkey Man a 9 out of 10. So yeah, they are my thoughts on Monkey Man. It doesn't release here in the UK until the 5th, but what did you guys think of it? For those that have seen it already, or for when you do see it, let me know what you think below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Do you agree or disagree with anything I've said? Let me know below and let's get a discussion going. And if you've made it this far into the video, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. If you want to watch future reviews from just some random Welsh geek ramble on, then please hit the subscribe button. It will mean an awful lot to me. My next review will be for Mother's Instinct. I'm looking forward to checking that out and sharing with you my thoughts on that film. And yeah, again, thank you so much. A big thank you to all those that have subscribed over the last couple of weeks. I'm currently sat at 317, which means the absolute world to me. I cannot believe so many of you would want to watch just some random Welsh geek ramble on about film. But yeah, it does mean an awful lot. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I'll be catching you guys soon.